Welcome the hardy New Englanders here to the public forum. The decision to have this meeting tonight was not an easy one, and if it was easy to coordinate the schedules of 10 people plus the attorneys who will be here plus everybody else, I think we would have erred on the side of postponing it. Whoops, sorry about that. But that is not an easy thing to do. So being in the New England spirit and seeing a few inches of snow and ice out here, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the Department of Public Works that cleared Town Hall so well. We really appreciate it and making it easier for us to be here. This is televised, and I don't know if Mr. Dumas is streaming it again this time, but hopefully there are people who, if they want, they can see this in the comfort of their pajamas and warm blankets. On that note, I do like to thank the hardy New Englanders for being here. I'll announce 3 speakers at a time, so you know when your time is up. Then the next person can quickly take the mic. And I'm afraid we need to limit everybody to no longer than 3 minutes, and we will need to enforce that because I think there will be a number of public speakers. And it's always good to see people with my alma mater's sweatshirt on. Okay? On that note, Scott Barksdale will start us off, Eddie Goodrich, and then Michael Fiorello. So, Scott, if you'd like to come up, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and honorable town council members who made it today. I'll give you some time. All right. My name is George Scott Barksdale, residing at 180 Grove Street. And I'm here to endorse the Conservation Commission's resolution to name the roadway extending from Oak Bluff Boulevard to the Long Beach parking lot as Marcia Stewart Way. As you may know, Ms. Stewart served this community with her passionate defense of the Great Meadows Marsh, a unique and diverse natural asset that is a home to many species of waterfowl and serves as a migratory stop for black ducks and Canadian geese. Ms. Stewart understood the importance of the marsh and worked to educate us all, not only on the marsh's environmental significance, but also on its rare and natural beauty. I did not know Ms. Stewart personally, but by her tireless efforts as a member and president of PYE, I have an understanding of what we all must work to defend our environment, the Great Meadows, and beyond. I believe bestowing her name on this roadway that runs along the marsh is a fitting memorial to Marcia Stewart, and I hope that the honorable town council members will concur with the Conservation Commission's resolution. Thank you. Madam Chairman, do I have any more time?
Yes.
Okay. Also, while I'm here, I'd like to kind of open up for other important aspects today. Dealing with the Stratford High School renovation project and with the Bunnell Fieldhouse, you will hear many people here tonight that have braved the weather to let you know how passionate they are about funding both these projects. It's important to view this, and I know that we're under a lot of pressure to cut costs, right? We always love to hear, especially on TV, about how government is run amok. It's not a revenue issue, it's a spending issue and all that. But I would implore you members to understand that not only is it their financial costs, but there's also opportunity costs, especially with Stratford here. Both our children went to Stratford High School. It's definitely in need of a lot of renovation. I'm sure everyone here understands that it would not be a question at all if there was a financial burden associated with it. But the time is right to make this project happen. And that is it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barksdale. Eddie Goodrich, then Mike Fiorello.
Ed Goodrich, 2320 Elm Street. Thanks for everybody showing up. Although we are hardy New Englanders, we had about this amount of people for that state of emergency meeting that we had last year, so it doesn't really matter. We'll come up here and get it done for the town of Stratford. I think really it's time. I can't believe that the time's passed so fast that it's actually been almost 1 year since the previous council put the SSG group into negotiations with the town of Stratford. I mean, this has been at 1 year. I think it's way too long. I think if it was something very easy, I think they would have done it themselves, the previous council. Now, I know that this group is pushing for you to approve them. I don't know if anything is even ready. We did this last month when they came up and asked you to approve, but there was nothing ready to be signed, nothing ready to go. There's a real movement in town to really kind of get rid of this group or just sideline them and get on to the business of the town. There's just too many traps with this contract, with what they're asking for. I was made aware that there's something they had put in a grant application, that they had already had a 99-year lease for the property, and the town council approved of the hotel. I mean, that's just really unbelievable. You have to take a look at that. That's how the town has got in trouble all these years. The town is, again, I see this every time again with this project, we're backing into a bad deal, okay? And I think that a lot of you up here, I look around, are smart enough to figure that out. I've been down to Shakespeare for quite a few many years, and I figured out that really it's things like this is the reason why it's still empty. This is exactly the reason why. There's no need to go through this. We do not have the zoning approvals yet. We haven't seen anybody with the money yet. I would have to say that we have to really start saying enough's enough. We have to end this with this. Okay? I hope that people talk about it tonight. I hope that people ask some questions, because I think that you're going to be the council of doers. I think so. I hope so. I've seen some. We're going to be talking. We're going to get stuff done. You always hear stuff from the peanut gallery, but when it comes to decision time, you come together. The team comes together and does this. And I think that this thing's been hanging on the table. And I think that the first order of business is to drop this group. We've seen what the Rooneys have done, basically given no money. They've got a world-class academy here, and that's really the template. They started the not-for-profit. It's going to be something that all of us are going to have to work. Oh, you don't have the beeper? Oh. Beep. Well, usually when it's the end of a quarter or a half, I usually hear a horn. Okay. So, anyways, that's what I think that we should do. Move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodrich. Mr. Fiorello?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Town Council. Mike Fiorello, 20 Red Fox Road. I'm a town resident, a graduate of the Stratford Public Schools, a teacher at Stratford High School of 15 years, and the president of the Stratford Education Association. The association brings together 560 teaching professionals at all levels, pre-K through 12, who work in buildings as old as Franklin and as new as Victoria Soto. What unites us? Wanting the best for our students and our members. In the case of the Stratford High School renovation, those two concerns, wanting the best for students and wanting the best for teachers, counselors, support personnel, all the faculty and staff, are one and the same. We, as an association, urge you to approve the appropriation of funds and bonding ordinances without delay. Anyone who attends Stratford High School, anyone who works in rooms with uneven heating, anyone who has walked to the library and has the sea legs to prove it, anyone who has sat at a desk and wondered how long ago exactly that bit of graffiti was carved by a fan of Pink Floyd, knows we are due for an upgrade. The Stratford High renovation has been studied and planned and debated for years. A succession of building administrations, central office administrations, boards of education, and town councils has discussed the footprint. The concept of renovation is new. Locating a new school on other town land, renovation with a skywalk and new construction, a state-of-the-art Globe Theater, and yes, the possibility of a single high school for the town. The options have been discussed, and openly and exhaustively. The time for action is now. We must not risk the loss of the state's 60% reimbursement of funds Please approve the funds to renovate Stratford High School as planned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fiorello. Next three are William McCann, James Janand, and James Brown. William McCann.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, my name is Bill McCann. I'm here appearing as a member of the Conservation Commission. As you see, the resolution before you proposed by the Stratford Conservation Commission to name a portion of roadway in honor of a longtime environmental advocate, Marcia Stewart. I've known Marcia for several decades, and apparently a lot of other people have too, and I had something prepared. I am going off script. But there is one part of Marcia that I wanted to point out, that she ran a program for fourth grade students, and that went over 20 years, and virtually every fourth grade student in the town of Stratford went on a field trip with Marcia and her group and learned about the Great Meadows, Long Island Sound, and Long Beach. She not only did that, before each trip, she would actually go to that individual school in that class and go into the classroom and give a slide presentation. Then bringing the children out into the field, she and her group would bring them and show them the beauty of our natural resource. That's the part of it that is just a small part of the volunteerism that this woman has offered to the town for these decades, and I think this will be a great tribute to her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Janan?
Hi, my name is James Ganand, and I live on 220 Quenby Place. I'd first like to thank all of you for volunteering your time and service to our town. I'm here tonight to speak about the Bunnell Fieldhouse. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a math teacher at Bunnell High School, and I've been the head coach of the Bunnell boys soccer team for the last 10 years. I am a 10th district taxpayer, a voter, but most importantly, care about the kids of this town. I graduated from Bunnell in 1998, and I used the same fieldhouse then as an athlete as I do now as a coach. That's because the fieldhouse has not been renovated in over 30 years. It was built in 1985 and paid for by parent and private donations. No town money was spent on the construction of the Bunnell Fieldhouse. A few years later, Stratford High wanted a fieldhouse, so who paid for it? The town. A few years after that, Bunnell wanted to put up lights, so again, parent and private donations were raised to pay for the lights. A few years later, Stratford High wanted lights. Who paid for that? The town. Just a couple of years ago, Stratford Fieldhouse needed renovations. Who paid for it? The town did. Stratford High School public bathrooms also needed renovations a couple of years ago, and who paid for them? The town did. Starting to see a pattern? The Bunnell Fieldhouse hasn't been touched in over 30 years, and during that time, Stratford High has had a fieldhouse built and renovated with town money. The only money that's been spent at Bunnell's Fieldhouse is for town workers who are constantly down there fixing the roof, the foundation, the furnace, the gas leaks, the list goes on and on. Do you know that Stratford High has 3 separate buildings at Pinder's Field? They have a field house, they have bathrooms, and they have a concession stand. Bunnell has one cramped building that serves a field house, bathrooms, and a concession stand. And while Stratford High has 3 buildings, are brand new and take over 5,500 square feet, Bunnell's only has 2,500 square feet. Bunnell's field house is over 30 years old. Now you know why the lines are always longer at the concession stand and the bathroom, all right, compared to Pinder's. While most call it the Bunnell Fieldhouse, we know that the whole Stratford community uses it. This is not just a North End project, especially since kids all over town go to Bunnell. The Stratford High boys and girls track teams practice at Bunnell. So do Flood and Worcester. Stratford High unified sports teams play games at Bunnell, and sadly, the building isn't even handicap accessible. Pop Warner, Recreation Department, Relay for Life, there are countless groups using this fieldhouse. The real question is, why is this even on the agenda? Hasn't this already been passed by the Town Council and the Planning Commission with flying colors? Is it legal for you guys to have this item on the agenda? Don't do it for me or any of the coaches who use the fieldhouse. Do it for the kids of this town. Don't let voters see you trying to stop progress. Please use the money already intended to build Bunnell a new fieldhouse, and don't use any of the money allocated for any other capital projects. Again, I want to thank you for volunteering your time and your service to our town. I simply ask you to please do what's right for all the kids in town. For their parents who pay taxes and vote, I have an 8-month-old daughter, and when she goes to Bunnell in 13 years, I don't want her to be using an unsafe 44-year-old field house. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Brown, then Karen Rody.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Town Council. Name's James Brown, 1405 North Ave. I too am here to speak on behalf of the Bunnell Fieldhouse. I have been a math teacher at Bunnell for 18 years. I resigned a couple of years ago to pursue other endeavors. I also coach track and field and cross country at Bunnell, and I've been doing so since 1996. And like Jim before me, I have worked at that field house and seen it go downhill ever since I started. There are holes in the floor in the main part of the field house. The lockers need to be replaced. The bathrooms need to be replaced. The showers should go. There's no reason that we have showers in there anymore. It's wasted space. There is absolutely no reason why this project should not go forward. Like Jim said, Pop Warner uses it. Stratford and Bunnell host track meets there. Football team uses it. I've watched kids go in for Pop Warner trying to get weighed. The lines are out the door. It's a mess. They need to get it taken care of. So I am here advocating for the continuation of the money that was already allocated for the field house to continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Karen Rody, and then Olga Penny.
Good evening, Karen Rody, 2115 Cut Spring Road. I'm here tonight as part of Conservation Commission for the first portion. And last month, I was here about Marcia Stewart Way. I'm here again to ask you to support it, and I think everybody that you've heard so far thinks it's a really good idea. Marcia is a jewel in this town. She's never met a horseshoe crab or a tree that she didn't like, and she truly is the steward of the marshes. She has always taken such good care, and not just care of the marshes, but of the people that visit there in educating them, adults and children alike. All my kids and my grandkids had tours with her, and they were really blessed, and it was one of their favorite things that they did in school. That being said, I'm taking the conservation hat off now, and I'm here as a taxpayer, and this is about the proposed renovations. I understand that you have concerns about the costs of the renovations that are put forth before you, but holding back on doing them is going to serve no good to the town. The reimbursement rate for redoing Stratford High, I don't care what kind of school you use it for, it needs to be done. Whether you use it as a high school or you use it as a junior high school, it needs to be done. It's a safety issue more than anything else. So that being said, Bunnell Fieldhouse, while its primary use is for sports, marching band uses it as well. And those students, all the students in the town have access to that, as that is our premier field in addition to Pinder's. And those two fields should be kept pristine. You've spent millions of dollars on fake grass to make them look pretty, but when you have infrastructure that is unsafe and antiquated, it serves no purpose. So I would strongly encourage you to move forward with the renovations that are proposed, and just watch the change orders, because that's where they get you every time. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Olga Penny, and then Jim Feehan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council. My name is Olga Penny. I reside at 452 Laughlin Road. Congratulations to the new council members. We thank you for your volunteering time. I'd like to address you tonight on behalf of the Stratford High School PTSA. We urge you to continue the approval of the Stratford High School renovation. As Victoria Soto School, this is a project that is a win-win for Stratford students, and our residents, as well as our taxpayers as well. Our infrastructure needs to be built up, and at a 60% discount is the only way I can say it. How can we not take advantage of that? I'd like to read a few bullets from our Stratford members here. And just because I was asked to speak tonight, I know how important it is to our town and our kids. If you take a walk through Stratford High School, it really is in shambles. So, as the Bunnell track as well, it's needed for the kids. The kids use this all the time. Our kids in Stratford use the Bunnell as well. So I think it's a win-win for our town. A few of the bullets that I'm going to read to you. This has been in the works for many years. 2 previous councils has reviewed and planned and supported it. One high school town has been discussed, reviewed, and determined that it is an unsuccessful solution. Money has been bonded. State grant could be in jeopardy. Process has begun. Portables ready. Schools for renovation. I understand, hopefully, that the groundbreaking is at the end of the year. I mean, that's quick. We might be seeing this, if you guys proceed with this, we might be seeing this within the year. Victoria Soto School went up in a minute. I was on the committee, the subcommittee for Victoria Soto, and I know how important it is to act on approving certain things in order to get that reimbursement. Another point, how can we have 21st century learning in an early 20th century building? When you visit our school and return to Stratford High School, when you visit other schools and return to Stratford High School, you realize what an embarrassment it is in our rundown building. The students deserve better. If we drag out our feet, it will cost the taxpayers 15% more. Please, we need your support. Thank you.
Okay. Jim Feehan, then Linda Palermo, please.
Hey, Steph, how are you? Maybe I'll find a way to put this up. Thank you, Madam Chairman, for speaking tonight, and fellow council members, and also I want to say hi to one of my council members, Sue Collier. Hello, and thank you for your service. Still serving the town. For the record, James Feehan, 930 Beaver Dam Road, former councilman of the 9th, former council chairman, current BOE chairman. I come to you tonight to talk about 2 projects. That being Stratford High renovation, if you even would, new building project. The Bunnell Fieldhouse project as well. I come to you tonight as I learned something when I was a councilman. 3 things. 1, be brief, don't demand, try to persuade, and be factual. So hopefully I'll keep to those tenets with you on those subjects tonight. Carol, don't turn on the clock yet.
Too late.
I come for the silent majority, that being our students, who don't have a right to vote, but their parents do. I come to you for the teachers who every day go to that school and teach. I'm addressing Stratford High, obviously, first. And I come to you tonight on behalf of the administrators, trying to persuade you to provide them with a proper environment for what they need to do best, and that is educate our children. Currently, our teachers are being asked to work in conditions that you would not want to work in, that I would not want to work in. We're talking about conditions where every day, you may not know this, where the principal and the vice principal have to walk around the school to make sure that it's fit and we don't have a problem. What kind of problems? Steam pipes blowing up, tiles falling down. We have wall separation. We have numerous issues that I'll spare you. But don't take my word for it. Go look at the school. Councilman Manis, is it correct? She went, reviewed the school, read her post. I think it's very eloquent, and I think it speaks to the subject. But please, go look at the school. We need to create this, get our children out of this improper environment that's not a good place for them to be, because they're really the ones that are suffering, and they are our constituency. If we don't do this project now, and if we delay, you're talking about things that you can really relate to, is your fiscal responsibility to this town. The numbers are easy. If, right now we're currently at 60.3 on funding with the state, if we happen to not bond at this time and not get it in early enough, and I want to emphasize that, early enough, we will probably go down to a bonding rate return rate of 48%. What does that mean to you as councilman? $12 million. At $12 million, you also have a 20-year note on that. On a 20-year note, it's about $3.6 million. Plus, with the cost of delay and increases in the project, you're going to be looking at somewhere around $16 million as a loss. $16 million that you'll have to go back to taxpayers at some point. Why do I know that? Because the school does not meet code. It doesn't meet current educational code. It doesn't meet codes that are acceptable for this, if you would, the state of Connecticut. So I ask you to consider this, and I ask you to consider it very quickly. I've talked with Ms. Robinson and also Laura Hoydick, our state representative, and she spoke on behalf of both sides of the aisle, if you would. They need this package approved by March, not April. If we do not have it by March, there's a good possibility the window will shut down. If the window shuts down, that's it. There's no appeal to courts. There's no anything. You've got to remember, we're not competing with the town of Stratford. We're competing with the other towns in the state of Connecticut. And if we miss this window of opportunity, we have to give our legislators, and we just sent Mr. Gresko up to Hartford. We got a new legislator up there. We need to give them time to learn to work this through with the other people that are up there representing us. And if we don't, it's going to be shame on us. So I would ask you to consider this. It's unjust to demand, and Madam Chairman, you said it so well. When you came over to center school, our math scores are down slightly and our reading scores are down that you pointed out. But it's unjust to demand from our administrators and our children production when you're not willing to give them those tools. I'm not saying that you're not, but I do not want to see this stalled and then the blame game starts. Well, we had to review it. We wanted to look at putting two schools into one. That ship sailed as well. That discussion took place almost 10, 12 years ago. I need you to approve this project. I need you to move it forward now. You're on the clock. You must make your pick. And I'd like you to remember that if I could continue, ma'am, because I do have the Bunnell Fieldhouse, two subjects. The second thing is I want you to consider this is an economic driver. This is not a drain on the town. People bring their children where they think they'll best be educated. That is an economic driver. I'll do quickly the Bunnell Fieldhouse. A lot was already covered. This project has been getting pushed back for 7 years. It is just like Stratford High. It's unsafe. It's in poor condition. We just recently had a propane leak at the facility. We were lucky we didn't blow it up. The monies, there's been a lot of talk around town that the monies for this project are being taken from current funding. I spoke with Mark Dillon. You may do the same. That is not the case. All monies for this project are already prior approved on CIP budgets. In addition to that, they were taken from past BOE projects. And I need to emphasize this to you, and thank you for your courtesy, Madam Chairman. You cannot use those monies anywhere else. They cannot be funded into the budget. They cannot go for another town project. It is against the law. Those monies either A, have to be returned, and all the bonding, which means municipal bonding, has to be returned, or it must be used for a BOE project. Again, check with General Counsel. They will tell you that. And after 10 years of serving on this council, you must use BOE money for a BOE project. And lastly, what I'd like you to consider is, again, take 15 minutes. Go up, take a look at the facility. It won't take much longer than that. It's a staff clinic, if you excuse the expression. It's not even proper to have our kids changing in there. I do have a lot more, but I did run over, and I do thank you, Madam Chairman, for allowing me to speak longer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagan.
Thank you.
So Linda Palermo, then Ken Poisson, then Sebastian Void.
Linda Palermo, 46 Watt Place, Stratford. I want to make a statement regarding Stratford High School. This year, I shall celebrate my 60th year of graduating from Stratford High School. I have very, very good memories of it, and I urge you to move forward and give to the children of today that attend Stratford High School and those that come afterwards. We have to give them those tools that they need so they too can progress and hopefully have a 60th anniversary just like the class of 56 is going to have in October. Now I'd like to switch over to Bunnell. My son went to Bunnell. I don't remember when he graduated, but he's 54, I think. Let's do what we can for Bunnell High School, too. Those kids need to be able to have a good environment. We have to improve all those things that are there that they need to have a healthier life while they're progressing forward to graduation. And then maybe someday one of them will stand up here and thank you, because they will be having their graduation and they will have had the opportunity to go to Bunnell School and have all those errors fixed and be real great. And my very last thing I want to say, although Mayor Harkins isn't here yet, hopefully he will be here, I've got to say thank you, Mayor Harkins, for thinking about our town employees. You let them out early. You thought of something that was safe, because our weather was just, so bad out there. It's a little better. When I came in, it was getting a little slippery. I think our temperature's dropping. Mayor Harkins, from Linda Palermo, I thank you very much.
Ken Poisson, please.
Hi, Ken Poisson, 35 Mapledale Avenue. First, as other speakers have said, I'd like to thank you for your volunteering your service to the town. I know what it's like to sit over there, and it's a much better view from this side of the podium, I could say. It's also very ironic, as some people have mentioned, about holding a meeting in the snow, but I won't go into those details.
It's February.
I have two things to mention tonight, and they're both objects that people have spoken about before. It's the Stratford High project and the Bunnell Fieldhouse project. I'm just going to keep it quick and simple, because I know you don't need to hear 5 minutes or 3 minutes of the same thing over and over again. So I will just plainly state, please move these projects forward. As you guys are quickly finding out, unfortunately, things always cost more than originally planned. The 4 years that I was on the council, we saw budgets go up and projects go up, and unfortunately, that's what happens. We don't like it. We don't like to spend a lot of money. You guys are up there in charge of everybody's taxpayer dollars, and you want to make sure they're being spent properly. These are two projects where they will be spent properly, and they'll get a lot of good return. It's very hard to spend large sums of money, I know, but it's the only way to see progress and keep the town moving forward and make our town great, so people will keep moving here to enjoy our beautiful schools and our beautiful facilities. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sebastian.
Hi, Sebastian Void, 62 Wainwright Place. I've been teaching and coaching at Bunnell High School for the past 13 years, and on behalf of Bunnell boys and girls soccer teams, I'm in favor of the new Bunnell Fieldhouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Watson, then Joe Kritsky.
First, it's good to see you all here. Thank you. Harold Watson, 343 Freeman Avenue. I have a couple different things. One, I know that tonight, I believe that you're bringing up the Shakespeare Theater, and I really, once again, I've said this 3 times before in the previous council, I do not support the current deal. Having been a theater professional, having worked with major organizations, having worked with John Halsman, who ran this theater for many years, the current deal does not work, nor should there ever be a hotel on that site. That, to me, reading through the contracts, I cannot believe that will ever be a workable situation. I read through all 3 of the other contracts, and I did see the workings of a contract there that I suggest you go back and revisit. But I really feel strongly that to move forward with this existing contract, 3 years from now, you'll be looking at an organization that cannot support itself, cannot move forward, or you're going to end up with a development in the middle of what could be something that would bring people from far away. The next thing is, Tina gave me the report that was written that was the basis for rebuilding Stratford High, and I read through it really carefully. And the one thing that I want to make a comment on, I, too, have done a lot of research over the last couple of weeks looking at ideas for Stratford High. And it comes down to two things, I think. I want to give a cautionary tale, having taught in New York City schools that were over 100 years old, and that makes Stratford High School look like it's a new functioning building. Okay, it is not the building that makes the education. I am sorry, it is the teachers that make the education. And if you read the report, one of their criticisms was that our town does not invest in training teachers for the 21st century. So if you're going to build a new building, you better make sure that you're also putting the money into training the teachers. Go back and look at that. One other thing is, I taught in a career and technology high school, and I look at the plans for that building, make sure that you are rebuilding the career and technology portions of it, because that's where a lot of poor and middle-class kids are going to get their work in the future, and we need to make sure that that school reflects that. I was looking at some of the initial information. I questioned some of that. So those are my things about it. But I also watched the Connecticut hearings, the Connecticut hearings in which Stratford was mentioned specifically that the deal that we got is getting us more money. And the committee made it a real point to say that they would not allow this to happen again. So if we're moving forward, you better do it fast before someone decides to change the law, because they're looking to do that in this session. They all said they'd go ahead with it as is, but it was very clear in watching the video that it would change. I know the bell rang, but I just want to bring up two other quick things. The bike path presentation that was done for this town, I fully support. I hope that you will all look at it. I hope that you will get all the committees in town to help support it. If we're going to talk about spending $600,000 to $800,000 on Bunnell, we can certainly talk about spending $200,000 to $300,000 on the next phase of our bike path. Finally, you guys, I hear everybody with all their projects, and I just want to remind you that all of these projects are good. But as a council, where you can be most effective is making sure that we do not have these endless cost overruns, that we don't say we're going to do this for $200,000 and that it ends up being $800,000 and $900,000, because that's where our mill rates are going up. It's not what we choose to do, it's the fact that we do not ride on them and make sure that they stay cost effective. Don't let them have everything they want. Give them 75% if that's all we can afford. The final thing is Fish and Wildlife, which runs Great Meadows, the Great Marsh. I met with them on Saturday, and they said that they need to have a better relationship with Stratford, that they're looking for a better relationship. They're trying to improve. Actually, they're putting in bike racks this coming spring in the new viewing platforms. But there are businesses that are chasing people away from the public areas in that area, and we really need to look into that and make sure that stops happening. All right? Thank you, guys. Keep going. I like what you're moving forward with this year.
Thank you very much, Harold. Joe Kritsky, then Tom Yates, please.
Hello, Joe Kritsky, 81 Bird Avenue. And I'm here to support the proposal to rename Oak Bluff to Marcia Stewart's Way. I met Marcia about 20 years ago when she was looking for some help with the fourth grade field trips at Long Beach. And I got to tell you that over my lifetime, I've never met another person that's more deserving of this proposed recognition. And Marcia really saw in Stratford's coastal environment a treasure worth protecting. And it is. It's a nationally recognized treasure. And Marcia stood head and shoulders above anybody else that I have ever met to fight and protect what remains of these unique coastal areas and wildlife. And on top of that, she led ways to educate other people about it. As a fighter, she exhibited tremendous courage and tenacity and was tireless. She stood up to developers, politicians, anybody. She was a real advocate to protect this area. And for about 20 years, she organized and coordinated a tremendously successful guided field trip program for kids to explore Long Beach and the salt marshes. And every year it's attended by every fourth grader from each of the town's 8 elementary schools. And that's somewhere around 425 or so kids, plus teachers and parents, going on for 20 years. And if anyone doubts the importance of those field trips, in June, at the end of the school year, ask a fourth grader what their most awesome trip was, and they'll tell you. And another thing is that Marcia wasn't motivated by money, by status, by political gain. It was pure heart. And she truly is a stellar member of what has been called the greatest generation. We're a better town because of her. She really made a positive difference to this town. And this year, when we have the field trip to Long Beach, I would be really proud and honored to point to a sign that bears the name Marcia Stewart's Way. And I hope this resolution is a slam dunk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Yates, then Ryan LeClair, or Leclerc.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the council. I urge you to build the new Stratford High, but I also would like to have you look into the possibility of eliminating King Street on both sides of the school and build a ground level walk across instead of a bridge across King Street. Make a cul-de-sac on both sides or turnarounds. You'll save money that way in the long run. Also, I hope this council puts an end to the take-home abuse of cars in this town. Okay? My name, Thomas Yates, 30 Avery Street, Stratford, Connecticut, 7th District. Okay? And I just wish the council would put an end to the take-home car policy in this town. I can see police and firemen, they should be exempt because they are on call 24/7, and it's a public service matter. But as far as people that work in the town offices here, they're all making over $100,000 a year. They could afford to pay back and forth their way to go back and forth to work here for the town, and the taxpayers should not be having to pay for them. Now, last year in Stratford Star, there was a story about building a bus shelter on East Main Street by the dock shop, by Home Depot. Now, coming down here tonight, I saw elderly people sitting on a little bench over there. That was discussed last year, and nothing was built. We pay $18,000 a year to Greater Bridgeport Transit District. What are we getting for that $18,000? That's according to the town budget. Now, one other thing. Contract plating was cleaned up, and it was state money, grant money. The same contractor tore down the silos on Massey Coal on Stratford Avenue, but that site is littered with concrete. How come that site has not been cleaned up? And because the previous council gave him the bid on the project, plus they gave him a cost overrun. I guess he wanted more money to finish the project. That project is not completed. The contractor is no longer on that job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yates. Ryan LeClair, then Henry Bruce.
Hi, I'm Ryan LeClair of 20 Old Town Drive. I'm a junior at Bunnell High School and a member of the football and lacrosse team. And I'm here on behalf of all the athletes on those teams, and we are all in favor of a new field house. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry Bruce. 3 minutes.
First of all, I think I checked my smartphone before I came. I don't think there's a state of emergency tonight that would warrant not having the meeting. So thank you for having the meeting. Yeah, right. It's so nice to see smiling faces up here. It's very, very nice, especially to see Madam Chairman there with a smiling face. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about the budget first. I think you're moving in the right direction, everything we're seeing. Listening to the people about the high school and Bunnell, I fully support it. I think it's the right thing to do. However, we talk about the kids, but a lot of the adults in the room don't act like adults. And what we just saw with the WPCA and what's just happened in the last week, obviously we did not need to sell the sewer treatment plant to balance the budget. And from where I sit, it probably took the mayor 5 minutes to find 2 line items equaling $4.5 million. How much more is there? I mean, you're going after the contingency fund for $3 million. How about this? How about you go for $1 million for contingency and enact a 3% across-the-cut department holdback? I mean, if we want all these things in the budget, then people have to make some sacrifice. 3% is $3 million. That's not a very big sacrifice from where I come from in terms of managing budgets. And then if we look at the Board of Ed, Mr. Fian's in the room. I called him out in my letter last week, and what I called him out for was that if the Dr. Robinson is going to put a budget together that is opaque as this budget is, and that wasn't the case several years ago with the prior CCO, if you're going to put a budget together that opaque and asking for 7.3% increase, then that's a non-starter. We need to see what the details are. I'm hearing stories that we have former administrators making 6-figure salaries working 2 to 3 days a week. Why? We need to see the details. If they're justified, great. But if you want all these things in the budget and we want to go forward with projects of the magnitude, we've got a lot of debt on the books, and we've got to right-size this. We cannot continue to see tax increases of 3 to 5% a year. It's just ridiculous. I want to talk also about the Shakespeare Theater. I got involved in the Shakespeare Theater 4 years ago when the mayor locked the doors. And now it seemed like we were on the right track, but frankly, the Stratford Stage Group supporters, continue to say that you're holding the deal up. Well, there is no contract up for approval that's been put there. Tim Bishop basically told the prior council, don't sign this thing. Basically, it's just as bad as the Haney contract. Why? Because the quitclaim deed and the Housatonic Boat Club covenants basically strictly say no hotel. So what's baffling to me is why we're even considering something that if you go forward with, we'll have 2 lawsuits on our hands. We don't need any more lawsuits. The lawyers in this town make far too much money as it is. So, And let me end with this, and I'm going to end with one of my favorite targets, Lou DiCilio. Okay, let's face it. Larry Ciccarelli was here. He and the task force did a great job on that vetting the RFP, and they came up with one solution: the Elm Street Group. Why? Because nobody else had the goods for the RFP. And then, lo and behold, Lou DiCilio comes along. And what the heck is he doing on the Arts Commission? Why is an employee who is the chairman of the RTC, what is he doing on the Arts Commission? Okay? I don't get it. They hijacked the process, brought SSG back into the mix, and we've wasted a year when the solution was there for the prior council. I don't get it. And furthermore, one other thing about Mr. DiCilio. The last council did not want to sanction his behavior in the last 2 elections. He went after a candidate 3 years ago by violating a non-disclosure agreement with a court, and the state wouldn't do anything about it, and this town council wouldn't do anything about it. And this last fall, he went after one person that's on the council, a former council member, and a private citizen sitting in the back with a despicable flyer, and nobody said anything. Maybe the last council won't do something. I think you should, and if they don't, maybe the RTC will finally do the job and remove him as chairman and as registrar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Just, is there an officer in the building? I don't think so. No? Well, I don't know what just happened back there. Mr. Ng, could you check the men's room? I don't know, that somebody dropped something, went running? What? It was Jeff? Is he okay? You have to go check? Are you okay, Joe?
That was close. Yeah, it was a long drive.
Okay. Honor rolls, please. Then Walter Rimkunis.
Hi, I'm Orna Rawls, 768 Judson Place. I want to talk about the theater, actually. I'm very pleased that people are very concerned with education, and I think education and the theater are the most important issues to the future of the town. So I'll talk about the theater. And what I want to do is put in perspective the recent history of the Shakespeare Theater, if you indulge me. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I just want to put it in a perspective. Somewhere in the 80s, a young entrepreneur rented the theater and did a season, and then sold subscription for the second season, which never happened. I couldn't find out who paid the subscriber, the town, and I'm sure not the entrepreneur. His name was William Haney. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that name. That was in the 80s. In the 90s, Louis Burke took the theater and had wonderful plans and beautiful brochures and a lot of good names. In fact, somewhere I have a brochure that advertising a great season, including a box office. I call the box office. There was no box office. There was no theater. There was nothing. In recent history, the council, this is the brochure that Louis Burke put. You can look at it. It's very interesting. The council called for RFPs, right? RFPs. And some very serious people presented proposals, including Frank Tubin, which he almost got it. The process, as Henry said, was hijacked. This is the first time. Somebody wrote a letter that says, "Dear Sir or Madam, I always loved the theater, blah, blah, blah." And he got the contract, or the proposed contract for the theater. His name was William Haney. And I have one page of the contract that your predecessor proposed to give him, and it's the ripoff of the century. So now we have another contender, and I hear that the application for a grant that this contender sent to the state has some incorrect, to say it mildly, information. And if you look at this pattern, one after another, we are dealing with a pattern of, I don't want to say the word because somebody is going to sue me, but people are not being ethical, okay? And I've been wondering for a long time, why is the theater or our previous councils attracting such sociopathic behavior? But excuse the expression. Okay, it's a mental health issue in my book, and treatment is reimbursable by insurance, but I don't specialize in it. So I think now we have a new council, wonderful council, and I think the buck should stop here. Enough of this kind of behavior. The mayor appointed a committee. The committee did this work. The committee was headed by a man I respect immensely, who has a lot of integrity and financial savvy. They made recommendation for the Elm Street group. I think rather than dilly-dally and waste another year, Just vote for them, and let's get to restore the theater and bring tourists to the town and bring some culture to the town. And if you allow me a postscript, I've been in front of this microphone in the last 5 years screaming murder many times. It is so refreshing not to speak to the wall. It is so refreshing to see all of you here attentive and actually listening to us. I thank you.
Namaste. Mr. Vincunis, thank you for coming here all the way from Lordship.
I'm from the old school. There was no thing as buses to school when I went there. We walked, right?
Right.
There she goes. She'll back me up. We both walked to the same school. I'm dating. I have two things on the menu. The first one is important.
I'm sorry,
Right.
name and address, please.
Walter P. Rimkunis, 425 2nd Avenue, Lordship, Stratford, Connecticut. 64 years. Okay, back again.
Yes, please.
I have two topics. First one, I am really happy to say I am a charter member of the PYE system in Lordship, chaired at the last several years, by a woman named Marcia Stewart. She did a heck of a lot of stuff for this town. She tried and she keep the commercialization of the environment off the public places, the marshes and such. People are still behind the scenes trying to take care of it now, but still, we fought it and it was good. She did with the kids, she did it with us, older people, all of us. And I give her everything I could working with her for all the years. I believe she's due for a recognition. I say yes to the proposal you have tonight. Number two, I got two words: necessity and priority. Since 1980, I have been following, after graduating 5 children through the Stratford High system. I worked with the school in various committees with parents. And I've been told every time I come up and want it to be brought up to standard, we don't have the money, by the council sitting at that time. The council manager system, and then we came up to the mayoral system. And every time I mentioned it, we don't have the money. Mr. Feen can remember that. He was one of the ones that told me, we don't have the money. Well, we've had all kinds of committees. We've had all kinds of, turn that off. It's irritating. Thank you. We have all kinds of public and committees meeting on this for many years. We had over at Stratford High School earlier this year, the people came up and presented, Mr. Lewin will tell you, to the public, and to get the public response of what they wanted to do. They presented theirs, and the thing of it is, the only people wanted something is because it's an old school, nostalgic purposes. But we want the school to be brought up to the standards. The same standards that you have on the north side of Stratford. They came up, they had a problem. 6 new science rooms were put in. Stratford got nothing. Over there. They put a Band-Aid. We kept Johnson & Johnson in business with Band-Aids. Then they came up They wanted a soccer field. Mr. Poussin come up here and said it. Oh, we need a soccer field. They got it. We don't have the money. They wanted a new racetrack track redone. They got it done. They wanted tennis courts. They got the tennis courts. Oh, okay, Rody, wait.
We're about out of time.
Okay, I know that. Well, one more thing is, we have only 3 schools south of the Mason-Dixon line, which is Barnum Avenue. Lordship School, Victoria Soda, Stratford High School. Franklin School is right on the end of it, so we got 3.5 schools on there. And that was all renovated. We had the money for that, but we couldn't come down for Stratford High School. So, ladies and gentlemen, this thing here I'm looking at, an appendix, an ordinance committed in years 2010 and 2011. How come it's brought to you? That should have been done and out of the way. And there's several other pieces in here that should have been done. So I'm telling you now, don't fool around. Let's get this thing going. I thank you very much. I'll say I have more, but that'll do for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Phillips, then Tom Yem, and if you can keep it brief, we'd appreciate it, so we can have a little break before the meeting starts. Much appreciated.
I thank you very much. And I got to tell you, in those times, it's nice to be on this side of the desk. And previously, during these snowstorms, I always voted against having these meetings, but I got to think positively. As I was shoveling out my driveway, hustling my way, sliding down Main Street to get here, I thought positively. All this work, it's got to be worth at least 100 calories, right? Thank you. Yes, I need to lose some weight. The main reason I wanted to talk to you tonight is about Stratford High School and then the budget. Stratford High School is absolutely needed. I think Mr. Feehan and several of the speakers before me eloquently described the conditions at the school. What I wanted to bring to you is, although our council was not known for working together and agreeing on a whole lot of things, this was one that we all agreed on. Every single one of us had support behind. We did our work, we did our due diligence. We were all members of that committee, and I invite all of you to become part of the subcommittee as well. We had 2 public hearings. We have a website with all the details up. We passed along information to everybody and asked every question. Mr. Llewellyn held as chairman. He was admired. He worked hard to make sure that everyone was included and meetings were published and information was transparent. Those of you like Mr. Harden and Ms. Manis who's walked to school have seen for themselves how desperate that environment needs to be upgraded. Our elected officials, Mr. Gresco, former Mr. Backer, Laura Hoydick, all of our legislators worked very hard to give us special, and I mean special funding to be able to do this project. No one else has this. Only because we did our homework. I am asking you to pass it tonight. Your work is important. Your work will be part of making sure that the costs don't explode any further. The funding is in place. My council has already approved it. And we are still going to be spending less money than we thought. We need your help to think about the entire town. I voted to support Bunnell. I worked very hard to make sure that our educational system has the capacity and the tools that they need. I am a strong supporter of education and an educational environment. But it's Stratford High's turn. Please consider that. And as you look at the budget, and as you know, I'm one who always wants to cut the budget. I don't believe in taxes. There are times that we need to spend the money. And it's up to the council to make those tough decisions. When do you need to spend it and how you can control it? There are several other items in your budget today. I support many of the ideas that you have come forward with, particularly with the transfers. I've seen many of them that come through from Vinnie Chase, Mitzi, Wally, and Mark, and Joe Grescos. Those are good ideas. These are ideas that we had in November. Those ideas still work. We have discovered, there's no news here. We knew that the plant did not need to be sold. We knew that Armageddon wasn't going to happen. All we ask is that you make those changes and bring us back into better fiscal responsibility.
Okay, thank you very much. Thomas Yem, last but not least.
Thomas Yem, 746 Broad Street, and I don't deserve the honor of being the last speaker in public forum tonight, but I will speak fast, and I will just limit my remarks to one topic, besides welcoming everyone here on this council that I am so proud to be addressing tonight. I'm writing and speaking tonight about the Shakespeare Theater. Very briefly, I want to read just a couple of excerpts of communications I have had. The first one is from a letter, an email I sent to my representative in Hartford, Laura Hoydick. I wrote her about 10 days ago that I said, Dear Representative Hoydick, it was only today that a little bird alleged to me that your fingerprints were all over the DECD, which stands for Department of Educational and Community Development, Good to Great Grant Award of $125,000 of public money from the state of Connecticut to the Stratford Stage Group, SSG. I mention this because, as many in the audience probably know from the media reports, the Stratford Stage Group supposedly is getting a grant from the state of Connecticut. However, there's a lot between now and that point. So I continued with my note to Representative Hoydick. I hope this is untrue, as this is going to be a scandal for the state of Connecticut, the DECD specifically, and of course in Stratford, which is unfortunately all too accustomed to these matters. David Reed's SSG application is replete with untrue assertions, and the application is unworthy of the DECD, which, I might add, is also courting scandal in awarding the town of Stratford the sum of $1.2 million for the purpose of so-called remediation and demolition of the center school at 1000 East Broadway during a time of school overcrowding and necessary Stratford High School renovations. By the way, I didn't get the memo, or I would have worn red as well as blue, because my son is going to be in the class of 2034, I think. We've got a ways to go. So let me be clear. The David Reed SSG proposal is false on its face. Its grant application is fraudulent, and I am making this known to all and sundry, beginning with the DECD and extending to the State of Connecticut Attorney General's Office, Town of Stratford, council members, and the local media. Some of you have read my other communications in which I wrote to several people on council here and said, in response to the complaint I filed with the State Attorney General's Office regarding Stratford Stage Group SSG and its grant application to the DECD, I received a phone call this afternoon, this was a week ago, 10 days ago, from an attorney, Laura Martella, in the finance department of the AG's office in Hartford. She assured me that she has been in touch with the DECD and that they assure her and me that the hearing before the State Bonding Commission, that was last week, is merely an intermediate step involving a much lengthier process requiring documentation. The bottom line is, if SSG does not produce the 99-year lease they claim to already have, 99-year lease they claim to already have, they will not be receiving this DECD grant money, which is, of course, why their grant application contained the untrue assertion that they already had obtained effective ownership rights to the Shakespeare Theater. I'll just conclude with the last sentence, because I don't want to keep people late. It is my belief that the Town Council of Stratford has better things to do than to continue in negotiations with SSG, and would do best by the citizens of Stratford to determine that it is in their best interests to conclude by a vote in the near future, perhaps as early tonight or next month, to to conclude any negotiations toward a contract with SSG and to move forward with other applicants. I'm sure you're all aware of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yem. And that concludes the public hearing. We will be back at 8 o'clock for the council meeting. Thank you very much.